On one day in May 1982, 4 Argentine fighters made their way to their target, intending to do what damage they could with the crude bombs slung beneath their wings. Their target, a pair of British warships armed with sophisticated guided missiles, should have been able to shoot them down with ease. So how had these aging aircraft penetrated the ship's defences? The answers changed almost every navy in the Western world. Disasters don't just happen. They are the result of a sequence of events, locked together in time. The science behind what went wrong is hidden in these seismic seconds. The sound on this cassette was recorded on the HMS Broadsword, one of the 2 ships attacked by the Argentine planes.
Aircraft bearing 1950, coming straight at us. Coventry appears to have been hit port side. Coventry's blown up.
3 minutes and 22 seconds. 19 men dead. The second of the 2 ships, HMS Coventry, a multi-million-pound destroyer, was on her way to the bottom of the sea. To help tell the story of what happened, the commander of the Coventry, Captain David Hart Dyke, agreed to return to a similar ship, now awaiting disposal in this Royal Navy dockyard. He was the last person to leave his ship before she disappeared beneath the waves.
The captain of a ship is responsible for the welfare and the safety of his men. They look to me to get them back. I actually told them once I booked my holiday on the 4th of August, so don't worry, I said we'll be back. And they actually clung on to that. You know, it helped their morale, it gave them something to look forward to. If the captain had his holiday booked, we're okay, we're going to get back to UK by then. So they're very dependent on me, but I can tell you I was also hugely dependent on them.
One of that crew was Operations Officer Richard Lane.
I'm feeling now very hot and sweaty. I am emotional and full of memories.
The other of the 2 ships involved was the HMS Broadsword, a ship very similar to this one. Broadsword's captain was Bill Canning.
Oh, this is all very familiar. The captain's chair, still the same, and locked to the deck.
These men all have one thing in common. They have all been through the chilling, split-second experience of coming under direct attack from enemy aircraft.
It's a long time that a warship had been lost to enemy action. We're going back to World War II, I suppose.
An unusual conflict in many ways, the Falklands War was fought over a windswept archipelago some 300 miles off Argentina. Ever since 1831, when the American Navy sacked an Argentine settlement, this barren place has had a violent history. In April 1982, the Argentines invaded, and a British task force set off on an 8,000-mile journey to recapture them for the United Kingdom. By May the 25th, the war had reached a critical phase. British forces had landed on the islands, but they were vulnerable to a sustained attack from the Argentines fighting back from the air. To counter this threat, Captains Hartdyke and Canning were given the task of shooting down the enemy planes before they could bomb the troop ships near the beaches. They were stationed 25 miles away. But on the evening of the 25th of May, they themselves became the target, as Richard Lane on board the Coventry discovered.
I am sitting here at my long-range radar display. I can see the radar contacts of the Argentine aircraft just leaving their tanker aircraft 150 miles away.
Wearing white to protect them from flash burn should they be hit, the men in Coventry's operations room had detected 4 Argentine aircraft. The planes were A-4 Skyhawks, 28-year-old American jets fitted with old-fashioned free-fall bombs. Primitive by the standards of the day, the planes were nevertheless able to travel at 9 miles a minute, an asset they would need as they faced the formidable firepower of a pair of British warships. Perhaps the greatest threat to the pilots' lives came from HMS Coventry, an example of the British Navy's frontline fighting ship, the Type 42 destroyer.
The Type 42 destroyer is a sort of multi-purpose ship in a way, but primarily designed for air warfare, anti-air warfare.
Men on board a Type 42 could take out an aircraft at 40 miles using this. The Sea Dart missile. Rocket boosted, nearly 15 feet long and weighing over half a ton, it accelerates to over twice the speed of sound in just 3 seconds. Should a plane get past this, it would face another challenge, mounted on the other ship, the HMS Broadsword, a missile system so new that it was still being tested, and it was called Seawolf. Seawolf is an anti-missile missile designed to defend a ship automatically from supersonic submarine-launched rockets, as favored by the Russian Navy. So accurate that it can shoot down shells fired from the guns of another ship, incoming aircraft should not prove much of a problem. But with a maximum range of just over 2.5 miles, Seawolf can never be anything other than a last-minute defensive weapon.
The purpose of using the two ships together was to combine the best elements of both the Sea Dart weapon system and the Seawolf weapon system. Two ships as one fighting unit.
Constantly maneuvering to keep close together, the pair presented a difficult target. The Argentines' only hope of success was to sneak up on the ships unobserved, and the Falklands' rugged and fractured coastline was the ideal place to play hide-and-seek. Deep inside HMS Coventry, Richard Lane was trying to keep an eye on their progress.
Track the aircraft as they're in descent towards the island, and then they started to run up the coast of the island about 300 feet, by which time my radars can't see them.
Radar is perhaps the most significant single invention in modern warfare. It is what makes guided missile systems like the Sea Dart possible. Radar works by sending a pulse of radio waves out from an aerial mounted on the ship. The pulse travels outwards at the speed of light, and should it hit something, part of the energy is reflected back. By measuring the time taken between sending the signal and receiving the echo, the distance of the target can be found. But if the planes fly behind land, the radar cannot see them, and this was the first chink in the British ship's armour.
My ship found it difficult in the Falklands campaign, operating close to land, with not a lot of space in terms of the water, and very short notice. So aircraft would literally jump at me off the land and give me just a few seconds to try and find them and engage them.
Travelling at over 500 miles an hour, the planes neared their goal. To ensure they presented the hardest target, they had decided to attack from 2 different angles, and the formation split into pairs. The first attack breaking cover by approaching from the top of a mountain 16 miles away. They would take just 80 seconds to cover the final 12 miles over water. There was very little time to shoot them down. The Falklands War in 1982, their targets, the British warships Broadsword and Coventry had just seconds in which to launch their missiles. In the Coventry, which had the longer range system, the first task was to lock onto them with something called the 909, which was the missile's guidance radar. It gave a bright beam of radio waves, much like a searchlight, illuminating the target and guiding its Sea Dart missile home. To be able to lock on to the incoming aircraft, the 909 had to be able to distinguish them from the background. Not easy when the aircraft was so low.
On the ship, you can't tell what the echo's coming off, so that the echo of an aeroplane target is completely suppressed by the massive echoes that you get off the land targets.
Unable to tell the plane from its surroundings, the 909 had nothing to lock onto, and the missile could not be fired.
909 to be introduced by land, cannot engage.
Hello, to engage with Sea Dart. Keep trying.
With the height at which they're coming in, we're getting nothing from the fire control radars. They cannot acquire them.
With the planes flying so low, it was up to the Broadsword to prevent disaster. Because her Seawolf system was designed to deal with low-flying missiles, her tracking radars had a much narrower beam, able to successfully isolate the plane. Graham Edmonds was the man in charge of the Seawolf system that day.
We could see the aeroplanes on radar. We had a track on them, and the system was, as they say, ready to go. A bit like Manchester United playing Gillingham, really. You know, it was a foregone conclusion.
Seawolf has a computer that works out the threats and prioritizes them. Once it has done this, the operator just has to wait for the target to come into range, and Seawolf will shoot it down automatically. The system had been very successful, shooting down several aircraft, including this inbound Argentine Mirage some 4 days earlier. But on the 25th of May, the system did not function quite as intended.
What happens is that two aeroplanes close together look like one target to the computer until they're quite close. When the aircraft are about 9 miles away, and all this happens far faster than I can explain it, the computer's brain recognized that were two targets. So it replaced the one computer-generated track with two new ones.
It was at this critical point that something went wrong.
The two new tracks formed, and the one original track became gash, became spurious. But it continued to, the track was still in this computer's brain, so it remained there and came towards us actually faster than the two new tracks. So the computer thought, that's more dangerous than the other two, and still focused on it.
Erasing the false track should have been a very quick process. But deep inside the Broadsword, the computer that controlled the tracking radar had frozen up and had to be manually reset.
This is a FM 1600 computer. When we have to reset the tracker and restart the computer, this is the sort of action that we have to do. You literally have seconds to take the right steps and press the right keys. As it turned out, we just weren't quick enough. We'd achieved it previously, but not on this important occasion.
They had run out of time. This photo shows one of the Argentine pilots in the last seconds of his approach.
Pegaban cortos los impactos, o sea, yo veía explosiones en el aire y el agua como si danzara, como si bailara el agua delante nuestro.
4 bombs were launched, 3 of which passed over the top, and 1 bounced off the sea, came in through the right-hand back end of the ship on the climb, and came out through the flight deck without exploding, and passing through the front of the Lynx helicopter that was parked up there before popping into the sea on the other side.
Y yo grité, viva la patria, canejo, aprendan gringos de mierda.
Broadsword, although damaged, was still able to fight, and there were still 2 more planes to worry about, approaching fast from the west. They would take 1 minute and 28 seconds to arrive.
Everything seemed to be simply right from my point of view. There's no point crying over spilt milk. There's 2 more targets to deal with, and you at least get a draw. So focus immediately on what the other 2 aircraft were doing.
Each had another pair of bombs, but as had been shown by the first wave, getting them to explode correctly was not easy. At the rear was an impeller designed to spin as the bomb fell through the air, delaying the explosion and giving the plane time to escape the blast. It had to turn 16.5 times, releasing a firing pin, which on impact could slide forward and detonate the warhead. To get a successful deployment, the pilot had to release the bomb at exactly the right moment. A difficult task, given that the British were hurling everything they had at the incoming threat.
I had 2 20mm Oerlikon guns of World War II vintage, which was manned by 1 sailor, hand-aimed, to try and get these low-flying aircraft, which of course was hopeless. I had sailors on the upper deck with rifles, which made us feel better to try and shoot at something.
Richard Lane had a repeat performance with the Sea Dart, made all the more stressful by the knowledge that this time the planes were heading straight for him.
Yet again, I counted them down in range from my tactical plot here, trying desperately to lay the 909 fire control radars onto them.
Roger, come on, get...
But although they were pointing down the bearing, they couldn't get a real solution. I fired a Sea Dart in an emergency mode that just went anywhere. We know not where it went, but it might have put the pilots off.
Fire, they're good!
Sea Dart away!
Launched without guidance, the missile had no hope of hitting the enemy, and even as a distraction it failed. The planes were 30 seconds or 4 miles away. Coventry's defences once again lay in tatters.
Confirmed close range batteries stood through. Captain A1 still unable to regain.
So there I was, and hoping to be protected by a Seawolf from the Type 22, which had a very difficult job, not only to survive itself, but to get in the right position to defend me.
Meanwhile, on the broadsword, they had more immediate concerns.
And I have to say that at this point, I did rather forget the Coventry. One is consumed by the need to sort out your own problems, I have to say, rather than worry about your colleague 400 yards away.
The appreciation was that Broadsword could no longer support us because she had done nothing during the first raid, and I told the captain that he was on his own, basically, no support, so manoeuvre as necessary, and we conducted a hard starboard turn.
By changing course at the last minute, Coventry was trying to make herself a much more difficult target. Meanwhile, on the broadsword, the Seawolf was reset, ready, and waiting.
And I thought, well, I'm not going to rely upon the system doing it automatically this time. I indicated the targets to the trackers by making a computer input, so that I knew we were locked onto the targets at long range.
Raid continues to close now at 5 miles.
We had a television system where a human being could track the target on a television picture. And I could see this A4 smack in the middle. And if you'll excuse the language, I said, "Right, you bastard, die."
It was quite a long wait. And, but quite a satisfactory one, because I knew this time I'd acquired the targets, nothing was going to go wrong. Or so I thought.
Preparing to engage the second target when, to my horror and everybody's horror in the operations room, I suddenly saw the Coventry's bow crossing the line of fire.
Was it Seawolf? No go, sir, no go!
This broke the lock of the Seawolf system, and we were unable to fire.
With 25 seconds left, just before the attacking planes came within range of Seawolf, the two ships had managed to get in each other's way. there was nothing more either captain could do. At 400 yards or 2 seconds away, the aircraft released their bombs. As the bombs fell, the impellers started the 16.5 turns needed to release the detonators. 3 out of 4 weapons were on target.
All I remember is my radar table appeared to explode in front of me. I was enveloped by a fireball, and then the whole war, for me, started to take on a different perspective.
Coventry, listening to port.
You're aware of a flash and you're stunned, you know, and hopefully you come round, which is the case with me. So I knew immediately what had happened. And you're aware of total devastation and darkness and silence.
There was one of the computer crew from down below trying to crawl up the ladder into the ops room, and I crawled across to try and help him out, but he slipped back into the inferno below before I could get to him.
Coventry is launching light crafts, abandoning ship on its starboard side.
And then the ship very rapidly started going over. It's all credit to the ship's company and their training. Very calm, no shouting, panic. Eventually, as the ship was going on its side, I just walked down the side and swam to life raft. And so it is remarkable that only 19 men didn't survive. I mean, they were killed by the blast of the bomb instantly. But it is incredible that nearly 300 people got out of that ship.
The United Kingdom went on to win the war. But because the British trained navies worldwide, the knowledge gained from this sinking travelled around the globe. The principle of relying solely on missiles for defence was rejected, and new close-range rapid-fire gun systems were installed. Both Sea Dart and Sea Wolf have been upgraded, and airborne early warning radar is now used to give much better notice of attack. The ships in this harbour belong to a bygone era, and are being replaced by a new generation, incorporating all the lessons learned on that day in 1982.